Man, quarterbacks have all the fun. They make all the money. Oh, Derek Carr, the latest to join the top 5 and highest paid quarterbacks after his recent extension, around 3 years. North of $40 million now, average salary. Let's put a DFS and Sportsbook spin on this thing with 3 of my favorite friends. Reid Fowler, Pearce Dietrich's back, Geoff Ulrich's back. I know Geoff and Reid and I talked in depth about this on the highest rated edition of the slate on Wednesday with Derek Carr's huge extension. But Pearce, I'll start with you here. He's now one of the top 5 highest paid quarterbacks in the league. Is he worth it, in your opinion? Is this a good move?
Yes, he's worth it because it's not really about quality, right? Price is determined by supply and demand. NFTs aren't intrinsically priced. Sneakers aren't worth $1,000 because they're tailor-made with exotic leathers. DK's trading at $16.51, not because of Emerson's smile. It's a supply and demand thing. There's a low supply of quarterbacks. There's a high demand for quarterbacks. So you've got to pay the guy. Can he lead the league in passing? Yeah, I think he can because he's playing in the division with some pretty potent offenses. They're going to have to step up the pace. They're going to have to play up tempo, put points on the board. It's not something they're going to be able to turn off and on. They're going to have to remain full throttle the entire season. They've got the personnel to do it. So it's a possibility. It's not a terrible bet to think that he can lead the league in passing.
All right, let's go to our in-house Raiders guru, Reid Fowler, plus 1,000 to lead the league in passing. You want to take
I'm just
it?
excited. Yeah, I'm just excited for Pearce Dietrich's the second YouTube channel, which is going to be Mad Money with Pearce Dietrich, and telling us about supply, demand, the economics. When he's not DFSing. Multifaceted Pearce Dietrich telling us about markets and how they're emotional. And yes, going to the emotional Raider fan, I had to take a look at this from a objective standpoint, and it still makes sense, right? For Derek Carr, if you take a look at, just Josh McDaniels coming over, you take a look at what he did in New England. Now, granted, that was with Tom Brady, the greatest of all time, and his offenses. He had 3 top 10 finishes since 2015 in passing yards, 2 top 5 finishes, and a runner-up finish in terms of their passing offense. And now you get Derek Carr, who was, I believe, 4th last year or 5th last year in passing yards with no Henry Ruggs, right? And Darren Waller being out for the majority of the season. Now you get Devontae Adams, a healthy Darren Waller. Hunter Renfro's coming into his own. So absolutely. You take a look at the AFC West as well. 3 of the top 5 quarterbacks that finished in passing yards last year were in this division, right? So you take a look at that, and to complement what Pearce was saying, this makes a lot of sense. I mean, Russell Wilson, I know Geoff will probably talk about Russell Wilson being extreme value. He's at plus 1,800 as well, being with the Broncos. So I like this a lot.
So Brady's the favorite here in this department, Geoff. Plus 700. Herbert has the same odds. Mahomes, Stafford, Burrow, Allen. Then there's Carr and Prescott.
Yeah, I mean, I think Reid is kind of, I do agree that, you could even go deeper than Derek Carr. Like, Russell Wilson at plus 1,800, it definitely sticks out. I mean, he's going to have the same schedule that Derek Carr does, which is just good teams every week because the AFC West is just stacked. But, I made the same argument that Pearce did yesterday. Like, the Raiders are going to have no choice here. They already passed they had the 4th most pass attempts per game last season. And it's not going to change. I mean, Josh McDaniels is going to come in. He's going to scheme more open receivers. What did he do in New England? What was he so good at? Why was everyone like, oh, Tom Brady's a system quarterback? Because of the wide receivers that were always open. Josh McDaniels is great at scheming guys. Now he's got Devontae Adams and Darren Waller to work with. You kidding me? I don't mind this bet at all. And I'm not even the biggest Derek Carr fan. I mean, but I think you can target Derek Carr and Devontae Adams as leaders this year in their respective divisions, especially in the yardage department, because I think this team is going to have to throw a lot. I think they're going to still be behind, and they're just, even if they're good, they're going to be involved in shootouts against these quality AFC West teams.
Damn, look at Trevor Lawrence at plus 2,800. That's not bad. I heard that. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm looking at him.
William Dafoe is going to have more passing yards than Trevor Lawrence.
But don't touch.
Well, Baker Mayfield's like the complete opposite of Derek Carr right now. He is miserable. He says he feels disrespected by the Browns. Cleveland has 4 quarterbacks on the roster right now, especially adding Josh Dobbs. All right, so Baker's time in Cleveland is obviously done. Geoff, is anyone going to be willing to trade for this guy, or you think the Browns are just going to cut him? I know that Baker himself, mentioned Seattle is a good option for him. He just doesn't care what he says anymore. He's just like, yeah, this could be where I end up.
somebody needs to just tell Baker Mayfield to just be quiet for like a week, and he'll probably get traded. Like, legitimately, just be quiet for 2 weeks, and this will probably be over. He can't do it. He's talking himself out of every team. Do you think Seattle now wants him? He's already placed himself on top of the depth chart in Seattle. It's like he's already undermining Drew Lock. He's not even on the team. Just to be quiet, dude. Yeah, Seattle probably does have some interest in you. They're the only team, really, who may have it. So be quiet and wait for them to get a deal done. I think he's going to get cut because I don't think anybody wants to touch this guy now. The Colts went with Matt Ryan. They could have got Baker Mayfield for cheaper. What did they do? They paid Matt Ryan $1 gazillion to bring him in. I think that the Cleveland basically has no choice here. I think he is going to get cut. And I think he's going to have to suck it up and really just come in and probably sit on the bench for a year. You know, we've seen other quarterbacks do that. Marcus Mariota did it. I don't know if Baker's capable of doing it because that means he's going to have to be quiet and hold the clipboard. It's a weird situation, man. But, like, this guy is absolutely talking himself out of the league, it seems like, every single day. And I like him. I do. I like watching him play. I just want him to be quiet for a bit so that he can get another shot. So that's my advice to Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, Reid, do you agree Cleveland probably has no choice at this point?
Well, they can keep him, right? They don't have to do anything.
They cannot keep him.
No. Look, they from an organizational standpoint. I know we're talking about economics, and Pearce he's taking us to school here. But he's due $18.8 million. Now he's already factored into the cap, right? So it's not a knock against their cap hit because he was already factored in that. So you got, like, if you want to trade him, you got to find a team that's going to be willing to take that money on, which that's also part of it. So what Cleveland is probably thinking about is saying, hey, look, we know Baker is not going to play for us. Baker doesn't want to play for us. We don't want Baker on the team. So they're in between a rock and a hard place into trying to get the most out of Baker Mayfield right now. And they're probably looking to what Geoff was just talking about, saying, hey, Baker, be quiet, and we'll try and get you the best, being in the best position possible. Cleveland probably has to tie in a late round, like a 6th or a 5th round draft pick, or maybe even a 4th, which is astronomical in terms of Baker Mayfield, to get him off the books. But if they cut him, the only issue, though, Geoff, is, and I agree with you that that's probably the best route, is that he'll probably stay in division, right? And maybe go to Pittsburgh and have a nice little QB battle with your boy Mitch Trubisky and take it to the Browns twice in that same division, right? That's the only issue, is that he'll probably want to stay in division because this guy is petty, right? He is petty if he's going on podcasts saying he was disrespectful.
Look, if you're the Cleveland Browns, I think you're fine with Baker Mayfield staying in the division, getting to play him. At this point in his career, with what he's shown, I think you're fine with that. So it's fair. It may happen, but I don't think that's like a huge concern in the Browns front office right now.
Pearce, who would want this guy?
It's probably going to be Seattle, and I agree with Geoff. He does need to stop talking, but it's Baker Mayfield. This is what he does. He talks. At least, he's not talking into the money phone like the former Cleveland quarterback. Things could be a lot worse. We're giving Baker a hard time. Do we remember who was there before him and the issues that they were dealing with? And I'll defend him a little bit. He was dealing with injury. His offensive lines had injury problems. He had a prima donna at wide receiver that didn't play very many games. As he mentioned, he's dealt with 4 different offensive coordinators. Yeah. I wouldn't quite give up on him yet, although Cleveland needs to get him out of town as soon as possible, and they're just going to have to cut him. Everybody knows that they're going to have to cut him. That's what Seattle's waiting for. Seattle's just waiting for him to get cut. They will pick him up, and he could fit nicely into that offense. We'll see. But he's got to get out of town. You got to change the locks or something because he is hurting that team.
Yeah, Cleveland.
He was 1 win away from the Super Bowl 2 years ago. I mean, he can play. Absolutely. I'm not debating that. It's just like, you've got to reset here, pal. I mean,
Cleveland has not been in a rush to deal him. Also, in that video clip that was making its rounds, I wasn't even really listening to what he was saying because his dog is just like passed out with all 4 of its legs like sticking up in the air. So I'm like, can you just repeat everything you said for the past 20 minutes? What about his plus 1,400 odds, Reid, for like comeback player of the year? Like, would that be a viable option in your mind? Let's say if he ended up in Seattle, or like which team would he have to end up with in order for you to consider those odds?
Yeah, a team with every single position, with like all the wide receivers. Thank you, appreciate that. No, I don't think it's a good bet. Like and side note, Emerson watching a dog video is like a cat watching a laser pointer. It's like it's unbelievable. But how do you go? Like this bet I don't think is viable. It's this is chalk to go with Derrick Henry at plus 300. Similar to Cam Akers, right? Both of these guys came back in the playoffs, so they're getting a full offseason as if, right, it was a normal, quote unquote, normal offseason. But this is a quarterback like almost every other award. It's a quarterback award, right? Like you take a look at like in the span of 2008 to 2013 or 14, they're all quarterbacks. The last 4 to win this award were quarterbacks. And the only other position over like the last 10 years is like Rob Gronkowski at tight end and a couple of wide receivers. And that's where I'd probably go to value. I think Robert Woods is intriguing at plus 1,200, right? He goes to Tennessee. A lot of guys are going to be, that defense is going to be keen in on Derrick Henry. A.J. Brown is always hurt. He's always banged up sometime, somewhere. And Robert Woods has something to prove. And he's still a guy, Bobby Trees is still a player who has a lot of pop in his step. So at plus 1,200, if it's not one of these quarterbacks or Derrick Henry, I think Robert Woods is intriguing.